Okay, folks that are online, hello again, and we have just started. This will go till 12 o'clock. If you can't see it properly because we have moved the computer, or if this is not positioned properly, please write it down. Nilo will handle it for you. Okay, so there are 4 pillars of prospecting. So this, if I have used the word pillar, it means these are the foundation of prospecting. So please pay attention to these foundation. First of all, you have to set a daily time and place for prospecting. Okay, so you have to have your own space to prospect. If you're living and having a basement finished and you have not rented or you are not using it, then you have that specific place that you have a feeling of prospecting. And you have to have a daily time. Now, prospecting generally applies to calling. So, because today's session more focused on farming and door knocking, I have those slides, but we will go back and be on track with what exactly prospecting is, okay? So, you have to work your daily schedule around this prospecting. You have to have set times. The best times are around 6 to 8 o'clock in the evening when you're calling. So if you have come to those basic training sessions for new agents, you would have learned that you're just required to do 2 things and that's it. This doesn't need you to be 9 to 5 or whatever. You just have to follow up a couple of hours a day and just do face-to-face meeting with people a couple of hours a week. So the weekends we have discussed, the best times are Saturdays 1 to 5. If you're a little bit aggressive, then it will be Sundays 1 to 5. And follow-up means, so those door knockings that you did, they need to be called. They need to be followed up. Someone said, call me back in 6 months. Somebody said, my husband is out of town. We have to discuss and we are thinking of selling. Someone told you that, this is a March long weekend or March break. Let's go back to school. We are thinking of putting it on market. So whatever they have told you, you have to have some kind of database to call it. And you have to set that place. Now, initially when you start, you might not have much to do in those 2 hours, but eventually after 6 months or so, you will have enough people in that database that will keep you busy. So your work hours are 6 to 8 in the evening. After 8 and maybe a little bit pushing it 8:30, after that it's too late to call people because people have babies and children and whatnot and they don't feel calling at that time. By the way, this is not cold calling. These are people that you took permission to call. That's why I believe more in warm calling than cold calling. These are people that you met in your circle of influence. These are people that you met at your place of worship. These are people that you met at your church, at your community center, or while you were, doing shopping and established a friendship. These are your circle of influence. These are people that you know, but you have a database to follow up. Remember, this is not cold calling. Just I want to clarify that. This is warm calling. These are people that somehow you met face to face and they said, call me, you're following up on that. Okay? Because during the day people are not home and before 6 o'clock people are not home. So 6 to 6:30 up to 8 or 8:30 in those 2 hours. You have to do follow-up. So if you just do that 2 hours of work, the rest of the day you can do whatever you want. Of course, once you become a busy agent, then you will have showings, you will show people during the day, but you will work according to whatever the schedule of the people are. Some evenings you might have people that are working during the day and they want to show them during the evening. That's fine because those are actual people buying, so you will drop everything else for that evening and you will do it. But normally when you have nothing to do, that's how your schedule should be. Okay? So you should have this is pillar number 1. And you have to have some discipline, as I said. You cannot make excuses. You have to have some control. You have to have some kind of discipline on daily basis. This should be consistent for prospecting. If you called 10 people today and all of them were not nice to you, or all of them said no to you, it doesn't mean you will not do it tomorrow. It's like having a retail office inside this mall and today nobody came to buy I don't know, a shirt or something from me because I have a store. It doesn't mean you will close the store tomorrow. Do you follow what I'm saying? So it could be a bad day. It could be 10 people saying to no to you, but you have to believe in what you're doing and have some discipline to do it on a daily basis. Okay? So now I will give you these steps because this is how it is going to work. You have to have a computer, you have to have a headset, you have to have a telephone, and when you're making a call it is better to stand up because you will be more energetic, and even though people cannot see you, but they can feel you in your tone. Okay? As they say, 55% of your communication is body language. So you might say, I'm on the other side of the phone, unless you're using some new technology from iPhone, they can see you, but generally they cannot see you. So you would say, why would I stand up, or why is my body language important? Because if you're sitting down, you'll sound like, hello, hi, how are you? How is it going? Will you sell with me? But if you're standing up and if you're acting that as if you're there and you're trying to be a good salesperson, in your voice they will feel it. Trust me, they will feel it. The tone that comes out of your voice, they will feel it. So in those 2 hours, you're acting, you're working, you're acting as if the client is just there, standing in front of you. And these are the tips that will help you. Because if your tone is such that you're just relaxed and you're making a phone call, I mean, relaxed in a negative way, not in a positive way, because you should be relaxed in a positive way. Then people will feel it on the other side of the phone. So that's why, I mean, your voice should have some variety, clarity, and the speed should not be too slow. If you're too relaxed, it means you're too slow, and it should not be too fast. So those are some of the tips that your tone will make a difference. And headset helps a lot, because if your hands are free and if you're moving your hands, you feel like, you know, that energy. Okay, so buying a headset is not very expensive. Buy one because it will help. It will help a lot. When you're making a call, you will feel that you're working as opposed to picking up. Okay, now again, in sitting here, you guys might agree or disagree with this. Let me tell you, if you want to treat this seriously, you have to do things like this. If you want to treat this as a business, if you want to treat it that you will become as a full-time doing this, you have to do these things. If you take it lightly, you will be forever, as I said, in limbo condition. Unless and until you have a very good connection, because I don't know, your dad is part of a community center that everybody knows, and they will refer clients to you because of him, or some other reason, exceptional reason like that. If you're a normal, average, regular person like me, you have to do these things. If you're a special person and have special connections, and all millionaires knows you, and they will sell and buy houses with you because you're a cute guy or a beautiful girl or whatever other reason, then those are exceptions. But if you're a regular person, you have to do these things. You have to do prospecting. Otherwise, for the rest of your life, you will be a real estate agent, but you will not be a real estate agent. It is that scenario of saying 80-20, which means 20% of agents have 80% of business, and the other rest of 80% only has the 20% that's left. So you choose which category you want to be. You might have a deal here and there once in a while, or you want to be part of the top producers. It's all up to you. It just depends how seriously you want to take this. Okay, this slide might go a little bit farther, and for some of you might sound extreme, but you might need it. You might need a mirror or a tape recorder. You want to see yourself, like how you sound, because sometimes, you know, when you record yourself, you notice that you sound so horrible, you know, and then you try to fix it. You will try to have a better choice of words. You will try to change your tone. You will try to smile a bit, things like that. I mean, it helps. So if you record yourself, or if you have a mirror in front of you, it might help. Now, in terms of software, I'm not suggesting that you spend any money. It's all up to you. There are database management or contact management software that will give you automatic reminder and whatnot. You can choose to have those. They will charge you $50 or $100. But for me, even you have hundreds of people, Google Doc is good enough. Excel has an option. You know what's Excel, right? Microsoft Excel. So they have that Google Doc document is available anywhere in the world. You can be anywhere. The Google Doc is through Google. So when you have a Gmail account, you can have all your you can have all your contacts with their name, phone number, and whatnot, and follow up through that database. Okay, you don't have to spend money. Basically, there will be a column that will say call back on such and such date. So you will call back. You will sort that column. Those of you that know how to use Excel, you know what I'm talking about. If you sort that column, then you will call everyone within that date that you're calling, right? So, but of course, you can buy software that are available, or you can just be very traditional and write it on your notebook and have it call back, but that will be a little bit too much cumbersome, time waste. But there are software available, and I will use something that's free. And you should always have your Toronto MLS, which is access for agents, open, because they might have questions that you can answer right away. They might say, oh, I need to know, for example, about something or something sold in my neighborhood or something. It's better to have that database open. Those of you that don't know what is that, it's a database that agents have access, only agents. Once you become an agent, then they will give you access to it. Okay, that has a list of all houses in Toronto Real Estate Board. So standing up, we just talked about that. So if you're a little bit more efficient, basically, let's say if this is your room, you will have two walls on either side. On one side, you will have your scripts. Now, scripts you don't have to memorize it, but if you're a good salesperson, you will have some objection handling tools. So if they ask me this is what I'm going to say. If they tell me that, oh, I will wait till April because it's still chances that the weather might go bad, then this is what I'm going to say. So you will be, basically a script means you're prepared for different situations that they might come up, or excuses that they might come up with. And so you'll handle those objections, and on the other wall you will have your scripts. So this way you will feel more confident when you're talking on the phone with them. I mean, eventually you will memorize all this and it will come with the flow. But when you start, you want to have some basis. Okay? And walls doesn't mean something really big. It could be just a wall like this, right, in your basement. Basically, you have your office, you have your computer. Just for a couple of hours, you don't want to be distracted. Even if you're living with your mom or your wife will call you and say, oh, we have such a good thing going on TV, or I just cooked something, come upstairs, or whatever. You just say, do not disturb me for these 2 hours, because you don't want to get distracted. You're prospecting. If you don't do this, again, you're going through that W. So you're feeling genius, you're feeling idiot. You're feeling genius, you're feeling every couple of months, you're feeling good, you're feeling bad. You're feeling good, you're feeling bad. Like you will go through this, and eventually that will stress you out. You want to have a healthy life and lifestyle. If you want to have that, you have to have a system. And the system is to have prospecting. Otherwise, a couple of months you will have clients and you will feel good, and then next couple of months you will have nothing to do. And then you will say, who is going to pay my bills, and blah, 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 blah. And we're going through all, and then some people, unfortunately, because these days doctors easily give you medication, and they categorize you within the anxiety disorder or mental disorder or whatever it is, because if you have a little bit of stress, because remember, stress in life is very natural. It is just a reaction to some circumstances, right? I mean, it's like as if somebody passes away that is close to you, you will have grief for some time. It doesn't mean you're under depression or stress or anxiety. And when you don't have money to pay your bills, you will feel some stress. It doesn't mean you have to go on medication. I mean, unfortunately, for a couple of weeks, if you don't feel good, you go to the doctor and they give you medication, and then for the rest of your life, you're on those pills, which is, I don't think, not a good idea. But anyways, I'm not a doctor, please don't, I'm not advising, but what I'm trying to say is that you don't want to go through that. Okay? You want to have some consistency in your life. So even if business related things come up, somebody emailed you, just turn off your email, or somebody wants to have a question about inspection, or your client calls you, When you're prospecting, you're not answering any calls because you'll get distracted. You're just focusing on work for those 2 hours, okay? And work, even if it is other work-related questions, unless it is emergency, you should avoid it, okay? That way you will have no distractions. So, for example, turning off your cell phone, turning off your emails, and no calls during the prospecting are the best things to do. You just want to work. Now, if you choose to do what I did when I started, I did cold calling. Now, for cold calling, you have to. It's even a step further than warm calling. From 9 to 12 I use, because those are the best times for cold calling. Although there is not a lot of people home, but because cold calling needs a little bit high energy, and in the morning you're full of energy. In the evening, I'm sure, and I'm like that. In the evening, I'm a little bit tired. I don't have enough energy. I mean, in the morning you feel energized. You have had your sleeping, and you're feeling good, right? So that's the best time to do cold calling, because you're full of energy. For that, the best time is in the morning, somewhere 10 to 12 or 9 to 12, because you feel good. So if you're doing cold calling, that's the time to do it. But if you're doing it in the evening, warm calling, these are people that you have met in the past. It's a little bit less challenging, because you have already met. They've told you to call them, or you have asked their permission to call them, right? So when you're doing door knocking and say, would it be okay that if I call you back in a couple of weeks to just follow up? Most people will say, no problem. Or some people might say, I will call you when I'm ready. So basically, you've asked their permission. Okay, the other thing is that you have to, now I'm preparing you for prospecting, because as I said, we are prone to come up with excuses not to do this. So do your planning from much before the day that you're going to do prospecting or your calls. Otherwise, you will just take your book or read something, and you will find an excuse to sleep and not do this, okay? And again, I'm repeating this. I hope I don't sound too repetitive, but if you want to take seriously these things, then you have to follow some plan. Be ready. Don't plan at the time of prospecting. So don't plan that, who am I going to call today? Should I call like my past workers, or should I call my barber, or should I call my doctor, or who should I call? So half of the time or half of your energy is gone in planning, right? You should plan ahead of time. You know what you're doing in those 2 hours. Those 2 hours, for example, for me, is a database that I have created, people that I have contacted in the past, or people that I know from the past. I'm just going to follow up and do a warm calling. People that I know, for example, my friends, I will call and say, hey Joel, how are you today? Hope I have not disturbed you. I'm just calling to see, I'm in real estate, to see if you know someone that might be interested in buying or selling. Do you know anyone? Then basically by asking that question, you're assuming that you will sell and buy with me anyways. I'm talking about someone else. You follow what I'm trying to say? You're not asking him directly, because you're kind of expecting him to do that. But you're asking, do you know anyone else? Right? So if you do that, I mean, basically they will feel special too, that you're calling them and asking if they know anyone. If it is uncomfortable, but if you need the money to pay your bills, you do this, right? And basically you're banking on your past relationships. So if you're ready, then you will not do second guessing. This is the goal. The goal is to do everything, call everybody that you have planned, and finish it. As I said, you don't want to plan while you're prospecting time. Okay, so this is another thing. As I was saying, real estate is not a dollar store business. You just build on some people that they have shown you interest. This is another common mistake that agents make, that they treat everyone equally. If you have called 50 people and almost all of them said no and one person shown interest, then treat that person as special. You just need, out of those 50 people, that one person. So that one person will become special. You will give them more attention. You will try to build relationship. So it's I mean, don't try to have a set script, set time, and treat everyone equal. It's like a to-do list. I will do this, and then I will go and eat. It's not about that. You're just trying to find a qualified lead. Once you find that qualified lead, you're trying to build rapport and build relationship. And then, as we said initially, the ultimate goal is that as soon as possible, try to book face-to-face appointment. If they say, for example, if you call your friend and say, oh yes, I know actually someone at my work that is thinking of buying, so then you will say, would it be possible that you make some appointment, set some time for me so that we can get together, maybe during your lunchtime, I can come to your office. Then she might say, you know what, let me ask and I will let you know tomorrow. Your ultimate goal is to set appointment. That's the best thing. And you don't want to delay that. The more you delay that, the higher the risk that you will lose that lead. Okay, because then if you call back and follow up, then your chances have gone down 50%. Because you're just trying to be pushy. But the first instance, if it clicks on your mind and you try to book appointment, that's the ideal situation. Try to book appointment as soon as possible, without sounding too pushy, obviously. At your first opportunity after building relationship, when you know people are feeling comfortable, just try to book appointment. In a smooth way, I mean, going with the flow, I mean, not being very rash, sounding very rash and aggressive and arrogant, but try to book appointment. Okay? And of course, when you have your database, call back people at the precise time, because sometimes you have built relationship and now they feel obligated to deal with you because you have built relationship, they feel nice with you, or they feel obligated to do transaction with you, but then you call a week later, they say, you know what, they were just looking for an excuse to come out of it and give the listing to their cousin. Now they will say, you know, you didn't call me last week, so I called my cousin to list my house. And then you will feel so bad. Yeah, you have done all the work and you have prepared them, but just you forgot to call them at the right time. So when you have a database, I mean, it depends how effective you are. If you're using that Google Doc properly to remind you and whatnot, there are functions. Otherwise, if you're not good at that, just buy a contact management system. One of the most famous one is called Top Producer. It sends you reminders and whatnot to call people on time. But that might be purchased after you have a bigger database and you can afford it. Okay? I'm not saying that you cannot afford it now, but you want to make some money first before spending. Okay. If people shut door on you when you're door knocking, or if they say bad things when you're calling, you don't want to be in that negative environment and think, oh my God, I should have not selected real estate as business. What am I doing? I made a big mistake. And you just get yourself into that negative mode forever and don't do this. If you don't do it, real estate is one of the worst paying jobs in the world, because you have a lot of expenses to pay your TREB and pre-cook checks and whatnot. And if you don't have a source of income, then not only you're on a minimum wage, you're not even at a zero wage, you're minus zero, because you have expenses and there is no income. So you don't want to be in a negative mode. Treat people that say no to you, just treat it, okay, I need 100 people to say no because the 101st person will say yes. Just take it something a step closer to somebody saying yes. You have to think positive. You have to be in positive mindset. And treat these no's or people being rude or people not being nice as part of job. There is, I mean, every job has its own hardships, and maybe this is one of the hardships that you will go through for this job. But it doesn't mean that you will be constantly in negative. Just say, if somebody is really bad and it has affected you and it has changed your mood, you just walk a bit, take a deep breath, think about something good. Maybe your days in school that you had this good-looking boyfriend and you liked him and then you're hugging him or something like that. Whatever makes you feel good. Okay?
Can you describe the second?
Oh, this one, right?
Yeah.
As I was saying, that if you have not built a rapport, or build a relationship, basically. I mean, let me give you a practical example. You're calling your cousin and you're saying, okay, Joe, I'm calling you because, as you know, I'm real estate now. I have my license for the past 5 months, and I'm practicing. Do you know anyone who might be thinking of selling? I know you know a lot of people at your work, so I know that you might be coming across some people. Do you know anyone? You might say yes or no. Then you will say, but if you're feeling very comfortable with your cousin, then you will say, yes, I know someone that is thinking of selling. Then you will say, okay, is it possible that you set a time with him? Then you will go and ask him. You will say, well, you will come back to you, or you will call to follow up, because it's all you should. Don't expect your cousin to call you back, because he has tons of other things to worry about. So don't feel bad, oh, I told him he did not call back. So then again, my ego is going to get in the way that I want to be successful, right? I mean, don't care about these things. It is up to you to follow up. He has kids to take care, he has his own problems to take care. He will not worry about you. So even if you have to call a few times, it's okay to follow up. So if you're not very comfortable with your cousin, and if you call a couple of times, and if you call the third time to follow up, or try to book an appointment, for example, through him, if you're feeling that you're sounding pushy, give it time. But because this is your cousin and you have the relationship, so this may not apply. But let's say he gives you the number. He says, I don't think I can do that because this week I'm staying home. So here is his number, you call him. So you call the guy and say, oh, I got it from my cousin and he told me that you're thinking of selling. He will say, yes. Then your next question will be that, I want to come and see you at your house. You know what I'm saying? So without building any relationship, if you just say, I'm coming to see, the guy will say, oh, hold on guy, I'm just trying to talk to you. You will say, okay, how's it going? Why are you selling? You build a relationship. You ask the right questions. Why are you moving? Are you downsizing? You don't want to sound that you're just simply desperate to get commission and run away. You want to sound that you're trying to help them. So then you will say, let me understand properly why you're making this move. Then they might open up. They might say, okay, we are thinking of selling because I cannot afford this house, or I'm getting promoted, I need a newer bigger house because this house is too small and I have 2-3 kids now and only 2 bedrooms, whatever the reason might be. So you have to somehow open a conversation before jumping and asking that question, that let's see you at your house. Then it will be too pushy. So you have to go with the flow, right? Anything else. Like let's say if you're asking someone for a date, it will be totally a bad idea that as soon as you see that person, you say, okay, let's go out for a coffee. I mean, the guy will say, well, what's going on? You know, you have to start talking, you have to have some chemistry matching, even in this business, because you're in a marriage for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months till they find a house, they're working with you. They have to feel comfortable with you. If you come too fast, you might sound too pushy and too much like a salesperson, which we don't like, right? When you walk into all the store and you're just walking to look around and this guy comes, what do you want? What are you looking for? How do you feel? You just want to walk out of that store. Is it not true? But if the guy comes and tries to give you some space to breathe, and then he says, is there anything that I can help you? It depends how you ask it too, right? And then you will feel comfortable. You say, oh, this is what I need. Then you will start having a conversation with him, and there is a very high chance that you will buy from him. Everybody is doing the same thing, by the way. It is just that how you approach it. Everybody is a salesperson, but it is just that you want to sound too pushy, too bad, or you want to go with the flow. Okay? I have not heard any comments or questions from people that are online, so I'm assuming that everybody understands what I'm talking about. Okay. We have another 15 minutes and I have to wrap this up. So basically prospecting, our focus is prospecting, and these are the 3 core areas that we have to understand. And again, we are playing with numbers the same way that I have given you numbers for door knocking, that you need. There are 3 stages that they have to get to know you, and then they have to get to like you, and they have to get to love you. And each stage, in the first stage you will have a couple of listings and so on, and after a couple of years then people will see you everywhere. You will become a brand. The same way for prospecting, It is the number of contacts you should make each day and week, and I will give you those numbers. The number of leads you should develop, and then the number of personal appointments you should set. Because whatever I have said so far is very general and very vague. So let's have some real numbers. And the numbers that I gave you is not something that, there is a lot of times people push you and give you assignments that are too unrealistic. What I'm going to propose you is more realistic, more something that is attainable. There's something that you can do it. Okay, so we don't want to be unrealistic and expecting to be millionaire after 5 years. So you should have, on average, 5 contacts a day. And contacts doesn't mean you call people and leave messages. Contact doesn't mean you call and talk to the caretaker at the home, or people like you're talking to the real owner of the house. You just contact 5 people. Okay? So that's 25 people if you're doing 5 days a week. 6 to 8, that's 25 people a week. And imagine every week if you're adding 25 people on your database, eventually after 1 month you will have 100 people. After 1 year you will have 1,000 people. That's a lot of people to play with. Okay? Everything starts from somewhere, and the first days in those 2 hours that I said you might not have much to do, but eventually you will be busy. If you don't do anything, if you're not proactive, as I said, sitting in your basement and expecting people call you and give you money or giving you leads, it's very unrealistic expectation. So just 5 contacts a day. Do you think it's difficult? I don't think it's difficult calling 5 people a day. Calling 5 real people, I mean the owners of the home, the people that can make decisions. If out of those, either if you can have 1 lead a day, by the way, lead doesn't mean that they will sell or buy with you necessarily. It means they have shown interest. Okay, they have shown some positive interest in you. So that's like 5 a week. And then if you have 1 appointment a week, which is face to face, that means somebody said, yes, I can hook you up with my friend at work. You can meet him, and then you will go and meet and present your whatever. If they're selling or buying, it depends. You have your presentation. And about the presentation, we had 1 whole week of that training. I think you went through, right? So you understand what I'm talking about. And those of you that are online, you know what I'm talking about. So you'll meet face-to-face people. This should be your goal, 1 appointment a week. And again, if you have an appointment, doesn't mean that they will deal with you. This is the next step in prospecting. Okay, so if you do that, you will have about 250 leads in your database at the end of the year. By the way, you have made 1,250 contacts, 250 leads, and you had 50 appointments in 1 year. Okay, that's not very unrealistic. If you do, there are 52 weeks in 1 year, right? As you know, so 1 week on average. This is if you had 50 appointments. If half of them deals with you, that's 25 transactions. If each transaction is not even 10,000, which the average commission these days is 10,000, but even if you consider that each transaction is only 5,000, that's 125,000. So you have these numbers, these goals that you're following. That way, you know what you're doing. If you're just vague, if you're everything everywhere for everybody, then you will be lost in this process, and that's why you will go through that up and down and feeling genius, feeling idiot cycle every month, every day. And you will be, as I said, you will have anxiety, you will have stress. It will not be a good, healthy lifestyle, basically, and financially it will not be good for you too. Okay? So going, once again, repeating this, you're trying to make 5 contacts a day, and out of those 5 people, 1 person will show interest, which is a lead. Out of those 1 person that shows that they are somewhat interested, you will try to have an appointment, 1 appointment a week, which means in 50 weeks, that is in a year, you will meet 50 people only face to face. Out of those 50, if half of them deal with you, you will make more than 100,000. But everything is about numbers. So but at the end of year, you have contacted 1,250 people. Okay, it's only five people. And once you have that number in your database, believe me, people, then you have established your business. You have the foundation of the business, then everything else will flow. If you don't do that hard work today, then you will be same situation as today 2 years down the road. You will be in the same situation 5 years down the road. Nothing in your life will change. If you want to change and if you want to make money, you have to lay this foundation. It's hard, it's not easy, but you have to lay this foundation so that you have a smoother life 2 years down the road or 5 years down the road. It's like building any business. You have to build this business. Okay? So there is no magic pill. Some people, because be careful, people will approach you and tell you that if you take this pill, then you will have a lot of leads and people will call you. That's not the case. But I think a lot of agents want that because we're all lazy and we're looking for the easiest route. But in real life, that's not true. It's just trying to sell you drugs. It's like, expecting that somebody will tell you, no exercise, you can eat whatever you want. I will give you a formula that you will lose weight, you will feel good, you will be fit, but you can eat whatever you want and you don't have to go through those troubles. I think that sounds good. A lot of people are selling those, but it's not reality. But you have to have some discipline to have a good fit body. In the same and healthy. In the same manner, I think you don't like picking up the phone, but I think for this business you have to pick the phone and follow up. If you're sending cards, for example, during some occasions, or you're sending a birthday card to your friend, you still have to call and follow up and say, did I send you that card? Did you receive it? Happy birthday, or whatever the occasion is. Or I send you a card because of New Year or because of Father's Day. You're trying to build relationships, right? So you're doing all these things, but at the same time, it needs to be followed up by a call. Otherwise, the same way that you want to ignore people, the other side wants to ignore more people than you, right? They have received their card, they're grateful, but they have life and they want to move on. It's your job to follow up, to pick up that phone. So if you want to be a top producer, you should never get tired, don't quit. You have to stay on top of this. Prospecting is part of this business. Actually, it is the bloodline of this business. As I said, there are exceptions in case of you that your dad is rich or you're having a lot of connections. But I think in general, real life, you need prospecting. That is the line for this. That's the bloodline for this business. You have to pick the phone even if you don't like it. And as we said, this is about numbers game. So the more people you have in your database, the more you follow up, the more you win, and the more leads you have, and the more business you have. It's about the law of accumulation. So as I said, the more people you have, the more chances of you getting more leads. I think, see, this is an example that I want to give. Everyone wants to be millionaire, okay? And it's not that tough to be millionaire, but unfortunately a lot of us don't have the discipline to be millionaire. This is a calculation. If you save $2.74, okay, that how much is a large Tim Hortons coffee these days? Probably somewhere close to that. Starbucks is a lot more than that, and McDonald's is maybe a little bit cheaper. But we can all afford $2.74, right? If you collect $2.74 when you're 20, that means at the age of 65, that is 45 years later, you will be a millionaire if you find a tool and invest in a tool that can give you 90% return in and out, right? You're investing only 45 million, but if you invest in something that has 9% rate, that 45,000, will you believe it will be 1 million in 45 years? It doesn't sound right, right? But you do your calculations, it will come to that number. In 45 years, you're investing only 45,000, but that 45,000 will convert to $1 million. A lot of people don't have that vision. If you want to be a millionaire in this business, you have to give your portion of 274 every day. That means you have to invest. It is not going to happen overnight. It will take time. But I think if you have that vision, it is possible. So I mean, it is not something that that will happen overnight. You have to have patience. I will give at least 90 days for some results from prospecting to come. Now, remember, for door knocking, I said the first 6 months. And door knocking is an exception of prospecting. This is one type of prospecting. This is 90 days for general prospecting. So that means you're calling your friends or circle of influence or people you know, or following up on your past clients or following up on your past relationship. Give it 90 days with those 5 people, you should get some transaction. For sure. If you don't get it in 90 days, and if you did exactly what we discussed, which is like 5 contacts a day, trying to get 1 lead. When I say out of those 5, by the way, when I say 5 contacts, it is probably not that you will only call 5 people. You might call 20, 30, or even 50 people to get 5 contacts. Because some people are not home, some people are not answering, some people are busy, some kids pick up and close the phone, sometimes a caretaker picks up, sometimes a grandpa picks up who is not a decision maker for the property. So you have to call so many people to get 5 people. Like, this should not be a misunderstanding that you're only calling 5 numbers. You're calling 5 people that are decision makers, that have they have the control over the property, right? So if you call 5 people, let's talk in 90 days that if it did not work and you followed everything we said, then there is something wrong in my teaching. Or if not, then you guys have not implemented. If you have implemented properly, let's talk why it did not work. Otherwise, do this prospecting for 90 days and come back, you should get a transaction. This is the stats from National Association of Realtors, which is out of US. They have done some surveys. Out of 3 people, 1 person out of, let's say in this room, let's say there are 3 people, out of you 3 guys, 1 person knows someone that's thinking of buying or selling. So it may not be true in this room, but that is a general survey of people on average. So if you're calling people, for sure you will come across people that either they are thinking of selling or buying, or they know somebody. For sure you will come across. If you call those 5 contacts every day, I can assure you that you will come, guaranteed, you will come across someone, because this is the law of average. Guaranteed you will come across somebody that knows somebody that's thinking of buying or selling. It is just that you have to take the effort to do it. Okay, so that's why it will take 90 days. And I think this is something to our closing, and I want to close with this slide. Zig Ziglar is a famous writer, and he's a good, famous salesperson. This is what he said, and I want to conclude, and I want all of us to digest what he said. He says life is like a cafeteria. First you have to pay, and then you get to eat. Right? So basically, in other words, it's not like a restaurant where you will eat first and then you will pay the bill. You have to work hard first, and then you will get to eat. That's how life is in general. Okay, so you have to put investment, you have to put some hard work, you have to put some efforts to get the results. If you're expecting that you just got your license and now you're a cool guy called real estate agent and you have printed your business cards, now you're expecting to get clients, I think that's a wrong expectation. And of course there are exceptions. I mean, there are exceptions that people are successful even not doing any of these things, but there are some other reasons for them. They were a community leader in the past. For example, my dad's friend is very successful. He doesn't know even how to list a property on MLS property. He was trying to sell our house. He did not even put the sign. I mean, he did not even did a listing presentation. He did not do anything. But that guy is very famous because he was only in our community, he was the 3rd agent. There were no other agents at that time when my dad was trying to sell. So, and everybody knew this guy. So he could be excuse for my language, he could be a crap salesperson, but he could be very successful. So those circumstances doesn't exist anymore. The community that I belong today, there are 400 agents. From 3 people, there are 400. So the competition is a lot more. But when he started in those circumstances, he was very successful because there were only 3 people, right? Or I know this other agent, for example, that he was very successful because he was rich. So I mean, some of us that are rich might do this. So he was throwing parties every weekends in his basement and drinking and inviting singers and having nice parties, and then people felt obligated to deal with him. I mean, when someone invites you and spends money on you and buys, I mean not buys, but the drinks are already there, you can drink as much as you want and you can eat as much as you want, and he was inviting these people that was coming to their basement and serving you food. It was very classy. So when you're thinking of selling, you will think, you know what, if I sell with someone else, his heart will be broken. He has done so much for me, so let me do it. I mean, you can follow those routes, and those are exceptions to you. You might say, you know what, I know some people in my life that they don't do these things and they're successful. That's absolutely true. If you have those opportunities, if you're part of those exceptions, if you're part of those, you know, some exceptional cases, then of course you have an advantage and you will be successful. You don't have to go through all these hard tasks. But if you're an average, regular person like me, you have to do these things to establish a business. Good? So any questions? Because it's exactly 12 o'clock and we have to wrap this up. Unless you guys have any questions or clarification. Anything? Okay, if not, then